This episode of the Boat Geeks is sponsored by The Boater's Guide, a free app for Pacific Northwest boaters. The Boater's Guide is adventure and information, right at your fingertips, right when you need it. Find your happy place with The Boater's Guide, a free download on your phone or tablet in the App Store and Google Play.
On this episode of the Boat Geeks, we have Nico Jensen and Aaron Wenholz from Longship Marine.
A power couple.
A power
in the
couple.
Pacific Northwest world of boating.
I absolutely agree with that. I like that title. They are the power couple from Poulsbo. And, well, first of all, an incredible wealth of information, experience, and knowledge for both of them in terms of wooden boats and boat restoration, and just their love of boats was incredible.
And their store
Yes.
in Poulsbo, just right above the Port at Poulsbo Marina, has been there and is a pilgrimage site for Pacific Northwest boaters.
One of my favorite stores, just in general, one of my favorite stores. Like I told them in the podcast, I love going into like used bookstores. I love going into their store. I love the smell as soon as you walk through the threshold, and so many items to discover, which we're going to get into with them. We're going to eventually do some highlighting of some of their items in their shop. But man, what an amazing couple. Just so much that they're doing. I don't know how they do it. They never sleep.
No, they're doing a lot.
Yeah, they are. And not to mention that they were previous owners of my current boat, Iron Feather.
That's right.
It was nice to have some of that history in here as well. We had a great discussion with them. They are such solid, wonderful people in the boating community up here. It was just a pleasure to have Nico and Aaron on this episode of the Boat Geeks.
From beautiful Port Townsend, Washington, a Victorian seaport on the Salish Sea, and recorded aboard the motor vessel Traveler. It's the Boat Geeks with Darren and Daeron.
I'm daydreaming of a day. I'm not wasting my time. Don't wait there till I come alive. Sail away. I'ma sail away.
Welcome to the next episode of the Boat Geeks podcast. I am your host, Darren.
And I'm your other host, Darren.
And our wonderful guests today are Nico Jensen and Aaron Wenholz of many boat projects, but also you happen to be the owners, operators, and know-it-all of the Longship Marine store down in Poulsbo,
Yes.
in Puget Sound, and one of my favorite shops. But we'll get to all of that. Welcome, Nico and Aaron.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about having you on the podcast for a very long time. Darren and I are both fans of Longship. Totally fun place to go. Like if I lived in Poulsbo, I think I'd be in there every day that you're open. Wouldn't be able to stop myself. It's a treasure trove of cool items, and we will get to all that. But this being the Boat Geeks podcast, we're all about boats. We love boats. And we have something in common with boats as well. Mm-hmm. But why don't you guys tell us what you love about boats? Obviously, you do. You're neck deep in the world of boating. Aaron, what is your relationship to boats, and what do you love about boats?
Well, I love being on the water. It's constantly changing. There's never the same moment that exists in boating. And from the boating perspective, I like the self-sufficiency, and you're kind of just your own world out there. You can be anyway. That's probably the things that I love the most, but it grows from there.
The peace and the like the quiet. We're in Puget Sound. It's a pretty busy boating area.
Yeah. I'd say the challenges. I do love the challenges of boating too. I for some reason love docking and tight maneuvering and all that kind of stuff. I like when my heart goes pitter patter and anchoring. And after you're anchored, the enjoyment of the solitude or just watching things happen around you.
Yeah.
It's that constant change that I love.
Did you grow up in a boating family, or
not really?
When did you discover this wonderful world?
Somehow before, my family is not a family of boaters, but we lived near the Des Moines Marina in Des Moines, Washington, and some of my most memorable times were walking down to the marina and just walking around looking at boats. And I just would look at them and wonder what's going on inside and where they go and all that kind of thing. And then when I was 12 years old, we moved to Central Washington to live on a lake. And so that was my introduction to boating, essentially. And I started off, my first boat was a 10-foot pontoon boat that was built of World War II airplane floats.
Oh, wow.
And it had a 6-horse Mercury on it, and we went all over that lake and had so much fun. It just was a blast. And I'm 13 years old, and I had the whole lake to myself.
Yeah.
Or my friends.
Yeah.
That was my introduction to boating.
Yeah,
Very
that's awesome.
cool.
And Nico, we have something in common. Our first boat.
Yes.
We both jumped in the deep end with buying our first boat. Why don't you tell me about your first boat and how you got into boats and loving boats?
Sure. So my first boat was called the Iron Feather, and I grew up in Red Feather Lakes, Colorado. And so the Feather, I had an affinity for the name right off the bat, but it was probably the 14th or 15th boat that I looked at before settling on a boat. And Aaron and I were just newly friends at that time, and he was kind of helping me through the buying process. And he was going, "Oh my gosh, is this woman ever going to pick a boat?" Because I'd run them all by him. "What do you think of this one?" And had various friends helping me to do a buyer survey whenever there was a boat on my radar. So we finally settled on the Iron Feather, and it's 38 feet long, and my only boat prior to that was a canoe in the fresh water. So it was a big leap for me, for sure.
Jumping in the deep end.
Wow.
So Iron Feather is currently my boat, about 5 slips down. And she's 38 foot, 40 feet overall.
Built in 1946.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
What made you choose Iron Feather? You were looking at a bunch of boats. What made you jump in the deep end with a big 38-foot wooden boat? Was it Aaron? Did he pressure? Was there any influence there? I know you love wooden boats. We'll get to that.
I think he had showed it to me prior, and I wasn't interested in it, and the price kept dropping, and we finally went to go see it, and it was so heavily built. It just had big, beefy beams, and it was used by the Navy, contracted by the Navy. And just the charm of the interior layout and the big, expansive bow. She has a nice plumb bow.
Very, very proud.
Aft deck. Yeah.
Just a beautiful boat.
Yeah.
I mean, it was my wife that actually brought her to my attention when she was up for sale. And just those old wooden boats. It's their lines. It's the way that they're built.
And then Iron Feather's construction, though, you talk about beefy. When you had the boat hauled out in Boat Haven, Port Townsend, was it Dave Thomas?
Thompson.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Dave Thompson.
Not the Wendy's guy.
Yeah, not
Dave Thompson. Yes.
Am I hungry?
Yeah.
He came up and started talking to Darren, and he's like, I remember doing something to one of the stringers back in like 1990.
Yeah.
He rebuilt the whole bow on it. There's photos of him.
I have those
recocking
pictures.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history of Iron Feather around here. And every once in a while I hear little whispers, party boat and
Party boat,
Bainbridge.
There
Whatever.
used to be kegs on the aft deck.
Yes.
And I don't know if she still has it, but she had a big plexiglass cover on the aft deck as her roof or her rain shield.
Yes.
And that extension.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when I got her, she was probably 4 years neglected, at least, sitting at the dock. So it was I always like to say, if you're not working on your wood boat at least 4 days a week, you're falling behind, and she was very far behind. I didn't do a full restoration on her at all by any means, but just getting caught up with the basic maintenance of the vessel. And people like to say, "Oh, paint's just cosmetic, don't worry about it." But that is not the case with a wood boat. It's literally the skin of the vessel that's keeping the fresh water out.
Yes.
So there was a lot of painting and sanding in the first year.
So did you both start working on with Iron Feather? Did you both start working on boats together? I know you've had a lot of boat projects and recently that's been together, right? Like the tugboat and
right.
So what Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we worked together on that boat. It wasn't my boat, but I felt like I was a part of it just as much as she was.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed working on it a lot.
He definitely helped with the first haul out, which I would have been very nervous to do myself. And we went to Port Townsend, of course, and he was the inspiration for that. And that was maybe 5 months after owning the boat. So it was good to get it out of the way.
Always a nerve-wracking moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were happy with what we saw.
Yeah.
We had to rebuild the windshield, and there was some small patches of repair on the planks, and aft cockpit needed recalked.
So was that a eye-opening experience for you?
It was, yes. You keep thinking, oh, I'm almost caught up. Caught up, but it's going downhill almost as fast as you're working on it. So,
what years were you the caretaker?
2015 through late 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you became the current caretaker in 2020? 2020?
Yeah, something like that. It's been a few years, so about the same amount of time-ish. And then you've worked on lots of boats since then. I've seen you when I had Iron Feather up in Boathaven. I saw you working on a boat at that time.
Right, a little fish boat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the other boat projects that you guys have worked on? And a lot. So part of, I described, obviously you guys have Longship Marine, but I would say boat restoration is a big part of your life, right? And so are you guys flipping boats? Can you just not help yourselves when you see an old wooden boat? Like, what is...
I must have her.
What is the motivation? I love it. If I was handy, I'd be doing the same thing, maybe. But I think
typically boats find us, and we're not out seeking them. There is a select few of boats that are in our life or have been in our life that we actually went out and chose.
Yeah.
The rest have just shown up. It's people see that we do good things with boats, or they don't have any idea what to do with the boat, and we see a worthy project. So we take it on, and sometimes they're free. Sometimes we pay money for them. Oftentimes we put a lot of work into it and sell it, and it seems like we made a profit, but we don't include our hours,
Of course, yeah.
And the fact that we have the store makes things a lot more affordable from a products and items that the boat needs standpoint. But we made a list this morning, which we've never done, of how many boats that we've owned since we've met. And I know that I've missed a couple, but it's at 18.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And at one point we had, I'm going to say 4 large wooden boats in our possession for more than a year. And, you're bouncing around, and it's really not humanly capable to take care of 4 large wooden boats. There's always some
that's
kind
unfathomable to me.
Some kind of thing happening,
Yes.
many things. Something's going downhill the whole time while we're doing this other thing. But I think for the most part, it's been very good, and it's been fun for us, and it's been good for us. Very good for the boats. There are quite a few boats that have gone into a state where they're maybe not going to live any longer. They might go to somebody that doesn't do anything with them. They live on it, becomes derelict, and we've brought it to a new position in life and found the proper owners, and they live on.
That's awesome.
I totally respect what you guys do there. It's such a sad thing to see a boat go. And especially when you're a fan of wooden boats, you see that a lot, the Facebook groups and people taking pictures. Somebody please come save this. And that's heartbreaking, and not only just because it's a boat and we love boats, but there's so much history, when you have a boat from 1946 like Feather, that has been in a lot of hands. It's been to a lot of places and just has history. It's to me, it's almost a living being,
Yeah.
And so
it's... I guess I don't know where the living being comes from, but I think it comes from the emotion that it creates with people, lives on in that boat.
Yeah.
Because there's so many emotions. There's good emotions, there's bad emotions, but
everything.
For the most part,
like a relationship.
Yeah, it's just like a relationship.
Well, and wood boats were built from living.
That's
beings.
Correct. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
There was life in the wood, and maybe there still is. We don't fully understand how the universe works.
Yeah. But for sure, blood, sweat, and tears, right? I mean, your own and everybody previously. What have been some of your more standout projects or boats that you guys have?
Well, our biggest learning curve was our tugboat, our 1930 tugboat, the Mighty Quinn. And we bought that in 2016. It was the first boat we bought together to live aboard. And we started on the inside like dummies. And we put a whole bunch of time and money into redoing the interior.
Yeah.
It was Aaron's thing. He really liked the boat. I couldn't quite see the potential of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was very commercial fish boat, dirty baby blue upholstery and curtains and not a great layout. And we gutted the entire thing and it turned out amazing. Then we went to haul it out and it was in really bad shape.
Oh,
So you couldn't see, between the ceiling and the exterior planking, you couldn't see what was going on with the ribs.
Yeah.
And when we hauled it out, our friend and eventual shipwright came and looked at the boat and he said, the only thing holding this boat together is habit.
Oh, my goodness.
And the whole boatyard was kind of looking at us like, these guys are going to walk, they're not going to take care of this boat. And nobody was very friendly. And then we started picking away at it. And Bob Cunningham mentored us through, was it 4 months of haul out?
4 months of haul out in the winter.
She'd check on us once a day and say, oh, I should be doing this, or here's some tools to borrow.
Wow.
And Pete Stein was a part of that as well.
Yeah.
And they both mentored us as best they could. And Bob lent us his crew a couple times. And we did a ton of work to it. So that was our big, this is wood boat ownership.
And big. How big is, what's the dimensions?
45 feet. It's a small tugboat.
A small tug.
But it was an interesting boat because it was, it had a fiberglass house on it. At some point, somebody had bought a Nordic Tug 32 house and pilot house that was sitting in the Nordic yard. The boat had a fire and this house was sitting in the yard and they bought it and installed it very nicely on the boat and it fit.
Wow.
It was great. So it had a fiberglass house, which is like, that's oftentimes the biggest problem with boats is the top sides.
Yeah.
So we thought this is great, but we didn't really think too much about the bottom side.
Mm-hmm. But we learned the skills during that project to not be terrified to take on more wood boats after that, and
Obviously,
to not have to hire people to do the majority of the work, which is the big thing with wood boats. There's less and less tradesmen.
Mm-hmm.
It's very expensive to own a wood boat if you can't do the work yourself.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
we did 45
frames. Probably 25% of the planking by the time we were done, completely refastened and recocked.
Wow.
So they ate their words. You didn't walk. You finished the project.
It was funny, the dynamic. It was the first month where you're dismantling, and we looked kind of dismayed and not knowing what we were doing the first month. And people would walk around us and make sure that they were out of our space.
Mm-hmm.
And as we started to dig into it and they started to see these guys are actually going to do it, then they started coming and talking to us and giving us advice, mostly great advice, some bad advice, but it changed the dynamic and we made friends there because of that.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. We put it in the water in December and let it sit for a couple days and then went for a week and a half cruise of the San Juans, our first cruise of the San Juans.
That's great.
The main vessel we've used for our cruising
Since
the tug,
up until about a year ago.
What's the name of this tug?
The Mighty Quinn.
The Mighty
Yeah.
Quinn.
That's such a great name.
Yeah.
It has a fun history. It was built in 1930 as a monkey boat, so it towed the Bristol Bay sailing boats out to its fishing grounds and back in the evening or whenever. I don't know the whole story on that, but in 1946, they strapped it onto the ship of the deck of a ship to bring it home to Seattle to do repairs, and somewhere in the Strait of Juan de Fuca, that ship was T-boned by another ship and it went down in 140 feet of water, something like that. And they rescued all of the canned salmon that was on that ship, but they left the boat attached to the boat. And the dive master from the salvage went back 2 years later and rescued the boat.
No
So it was at the bottom for 2 years in the Strait of Juan de Fuca.
Wow.
And he rescued it and made it his own boat. He must have repowered it, obviously. And
Wow.
so that's part of its history. That's the fun part.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't even.
cargo ship was the Diamond Knot,
Right.
the deck that it was strapped to.
Yeah. And apparently to this day, it's the largest salvage operation of a ship in the Puget Sound. It was like a $2 million operation.
Oh my gosh.
And this is in 1946.
Jeez.
They were,
That is a history, man.
they were just launching Iron Feather. At
Yeah,
that time.
that's right.
That's amazing.
So the last time we went through the Strait of Juan de Fuca, it got really stinky.
Yeah.
And it was really foggy at the same time. And we were in tug and we were thinking, does she remember?
Yeah.
You know, this is
Wow.
where she went down. And
Yes.
She sort of
shiver
did.
me timbers.
She did remember too. She reminded herself because
Yeah.
we thought we were sinking at one point.
Yeah.
Turns out it was a freshwater hose had blown
Oh,
off. and
yeah.
It pumped our entire freshwater tank into the bilge, and I thought we were sinking.
Yeah.
The stories you must have over all
Yeah,
the years.
yeah.
That's an amazing project. Anything else stick
Yeah.
out in terms of your boating ownership or projects that you've taken on?
Well, a really fun boat was the Breeze, and that was 1952
Yeah.
wood
a
boat. And
36-foot fishing boat.
it looked like a mini purse seiner.
Oh,
A
yeah.
real cutie.
You saw
That's
that.
the one I
That's
saw.
the one that
you
was
saw, yeah.
in Boathaven.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool
Nice
boat.
lines.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that boat.
And that was a gentleman that came into the shop, and he'd maybe been in a few times. We didn't know him that well. And he said, I want you guys to have my boat, free boat. And we're like, oh, well, we really shouldn't
You've
be
heard
doing
that
this.
before.
We're really trying to trying to cut back, you know.
Yeah.
So we went to the John Wayne Marina and saw it, and it had broken free of its mooring and went up on the rocks and broke its rudder.
Oh.
And it laid there for a while, chafing
Like a week, yeah.
the anti-fouling off of the planks there.
And the planks.
And the planks.
Yeah.
It really
Right.
chewed up.
Mhm.
So then it went back to its slip, and nobody did anything about it. And it ended up getting teredo worms in the planks where the anti-fouling had come off. And so we went to see the boat, of course, not knowing what was going on under the water line, but he did disclose there was no rudder. And it turned out it wasn't free. He wanted money for it. And we eventually settled on a price and towed it straight to Port Townsend with our tugboat and hauled it out. And that's when we found the teredo worms, which we'd never seen those before. It was just one
They're
more thing on the list
Funny
of
things, yeah.
crazy things that can happen to wood boats, you
Right.
know?
Are they? Can you see the sign from the outside, or is it when you start?
You see holes, it's like giant termite holes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I've noticed it was happening when I was like chunking a plank out and all this clear ooze started coming out.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not right. This
Yeah,
is very
that's not
strange.
good.
But it wasn't rampant. It was pretty contained to a couple planks, and we replaced the planks. And it was a boat that had been completely rebuilt. Like it was a deep draft, round bottom, fantail kind of boat, and
Yeah.
somebody had rebuilt it into having a transom and a flat bottom. It was still a fairly deep draft, but it totally rebuilt, totally rewired, rebuilt engine. It had something like $160,000 put into it, and then this happened and it sat.
Yeah.
So we got it like 5 years after its restoration with its issues, and it was a fun project because most everything was fantastic on it, but it had these issues that we took care of and played with it. We always, if we get a boat in our possession, we go enjoy it and see what it's like. And I like driving it, maneuvers, that
was
kind
a
of
fun
thing.
boat to drive. Yeah. And it had a big hydraulic boom on it. So we got to do some work. We got to help some.
We pulled a mast out
mast.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. But we have pretty lengthy relationships with each vessel we take on. I wouldn't necessarily call it a flip because of our business and wanting to stay local. We have to make sure every boat we sell is safe and all the systems are gone through, and it's not going to be a lemon for somebody, or they're not going to have to spend a bunch of money on it right away. So, and the more you dig, the more you find with these boats. So sometimes we don't know when to stop. We had tug for 6 or 7 years. And
That one we would have been better off selling it years ago, but we just kept picking away at it and doing more projects, but it just got better. Finishing the project, and it's never done, but getting it to a point where you can go use it and enjoy it and understand that it's reliable and it's going to be okay to use.
for somebody.
Yeah.
So like a turnkey
Yeah.
situation.
And we got a really good trip out of it at the end, and then we sold it almost shortly thereafter.
That's good. Yeah, it's great that you guys get
We were just talking about the old adage that Darren and I hate
it.
The best 2 days in a boat owner's life.
yeah.
I have always disagreed with that.
Absolutely.
That's the dumbest saying.
I
And it was a
completely-
non-boater that came up with
Right.
it, obviously.
I mean, I get where it comes from, but for sure, like the best days are when you're out on your boat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You
that-
know?
you
And
just
sometimes
anchored
sometimes when you're working on it. I mean,
Right.
Yes.
you guys got to
Yeah.
know every nook and cranny and intimately
Yeah.
became one with those vessels.
Mhm.
There's something to be said for that. Those times too.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you guys consider yourselves now experts on wood boat restoration? No.
No, there's still so much
No.
to learn. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good attitude, but
Yeah.
I wonder if you really are experts. But because who else would do the projects that you guys do and not only do that, but make it all the way through to the end?
Yeah.
You know,
We're not always making it to the end, but we're making it to a point where the
To a
boat
point.
is safe and somebody can pick up.
where you left off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has value again.
right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Saving boats is
Right.
a great value for sure.
It's a lot of fun.
So what is your current boat situation?
We're down to one boat, which is
What?
very unusual for us.
Hold and steady.
Yeah. And it's been a long-term boat for us. It's a William Garden trawler. It's 50 feet. People mistake it for a DeFever or a Grand Banks Alaskan. It's similar to that, but it has the kind of cartoony classic garden design to it that's stands out. It's a very cool boat, and I've
Right on.
almost like every boat we've ever owned, I've hated it and I've loved it, and I think I'm pretty much in love now.
Yeah.
But there was many times I hated it.
Yeah, 1964.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to redo the
Yeah.
interior, but
Yeah.
it was another alongside tug where the learning curve was
Very
steep.
steep. Yes.
When we bought the boat, there was 2 existing surveys on it, and then we paid for a 3rd survey. And none of the surveyors caught the delignification that was happening, and it was mainly under the fuel tanks and around the rudder shaft. So anywhere there was an underwater metal passing through the hole, there was starting to be some white fuzz. And if we had really gotten down on our bellies and looked around, we would have said, "Hey, what is that?"
That's
You know,
this
but we were
stuff,
just trusting the surveyor to be our advocate and protect us from travesty and protect the insurance company from travesty as well.
Right.
There was a lot of other things that were missed. So we lived with that for a while, and once we knew it was there, treated it with white vinegar, not as often as we should have, but we kept it at bay.
We learned about it because we hauled out, and there was some funny business happening while we were hauled out with this white fuzz forming right at the shaft log. You'd
Oh yeah, you'd
put your
paint-
bottom paint on it, and within 10 minutes, this
Oh.
fuzz is growing out of it.
Whoa.
I forgot about that.
So that was alarming. And then we put the boat in the water. This is after a week haul out in Edmonds, and it was taking on a lot of water, and it didn't seem right. And as it turns out, we brought it home, and it's like a kind of like termites where you can't see, things just travel. And so there was a big void in the planking and the frames down there by one of the shaft logs that was leaking a lot. And our buddy did splash zone. We lived with it for 2 years, and we didn't really take the boat out. We'd take it around Liberty Bay and just keep it operational, but it wasn't a boat you could safely go anywhere. So when we decided to haul it out, I had to build a framework of steel for the rudders so that I could stabilize the rudders, because the wood was so far gone around it that you could
Just the weight
wiggle
of the rudder. Yeah.
the rudder. It was really bad,
Wow.
but we made it to Port Townsend, and we repaired all that.
and that was a 6-month haul out, wasn't
I
it?
think it was 5 months.
5 months.
I'm jealous because William Garden is my favorite designer of all time. And before we bought this boat, before we bought Traveler, we had an accepted offer on a 1961 William Garden 50-foot trawler named Silver Lady.
I've seen that boat before, I think. Yeah,
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
We were so excited. It was up in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
We had tickets. We were going to fly up there.
Wow,
The
yeah.
owner had accepted our offer and all this stuff. 2 days before flying up, she called to say, I sold the boat.
Oh,
So we came this close.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So this was our second choice, which
Right.
Yeah.
was fine. But I still dream about someday owning a wooden boat designed by William Garden, launched the year I was born. That boat did it, and it slipped out of my grasp. But anyway.
there's one on the market. What year was that one we were looking at?
64, 63. It's a really cool William Garden. It's his Wanderer design. It's very
Oh, yeah.
nice.
Yeah. That's a cool
That's a
design.
very cool boat.
My favorite boat regionally by Garden is Sophia.
That's like
Often-
North Sea trawler
Yeah,
looking boat.
often at
That's
the Wooden Boat
yeah.
Festival.
very cool boat.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're really hoping to host a Bill Garden rendezvous.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the next-
2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Boat Geeks will be
We
there.
will be
Yeah.
there. Let us know for sure.
Wow.
We want to give everyone plenty of time to plan and for our upstairs to be finished. And so it'll be at the Port of Poulsbo,
Oh, wonderful.
their new guest moorage docks.
I did own a William Garden design boat. It was a 40-foot sailboat.
Okay.
Gulf 40.
Oh yeah, a Gulf. That's a big Gulf.
Well, they were actually built by Choi Lee
Okay.
in the early 60s, and they made like 10 wood Gulf 40s.
Yeah.
Somebody in Seattle made a mold, and there were 5 fiberglass.
No.
But it
kidding.
was like a Cape George. It was just a solid glass hull, and everything else
Owner
was wood.
finished
So
kinda.
I have owned
Okay.
one garden design
Ah.
in my life, so at least I've done that.
Didn't know that existed. I'll have to look it
Yeah.
up.
So
Beautiful,
that one was
great
fiberglass.
salmon. Yeah.
Huh.
So many unique boats out there, even people who've been in the, around boats for decades. There's just so much to discover. I love the, custom boats and the unique finds that you have. You could do marina walks or whatever,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the,
Mm-hmm.
just so many cool boats. It's
Yeah,
great to
the
talk to other
variety.
boat lovers.
Boat Geeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
boat geeks.
Boat geeks.
So owning Longship and working on boats must be a lot of fun, right? Because you have all these things to work with when you're
Mm-hmm.
restoring your boats,
I
right?
Yeah.
have one question though before that is, do you guys ever sleep?
Yeah, I know.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
You guys are so lazy. You only have one boat right now. Yeah.
It is a little like being in a boat cult, I guess, where we don't get to see our family or friends
Yes.
very
It's
often.
true,
And
yeah.
Antisocial at times
Yeah.
because we're overworked. And
Yeah.
But yeah, the store, I mean, when we're working on a project, we might walk up there 4 times in a day when we're closed to
Sure.
get something.
To go
and-
shopping.
Yeah.
It's our own shopping
It's-
experience.
It
Yeah.
must
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know right where every little
Yes.
part
Yeah.
is too,
Yeah.
because for the rest of us, we come in and we just wander. I mean, that's the joy, is just looking at everything, that you already know where it all is.
Yeah.
I think people wonder how we get the comment every day. How do you know? They ask where something is, and I take them right to it. And the reality is, it's because I'm there shopping every day. It's not because I work there.
Yep.
How many total items have you ever estimated?
Yeah, our system takes care of that.
Yeah, we finally have real-time inventory, new
remember.
and used.
It's over 100,000 items.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. Okay, so we're talking about Longship Marine. It's in Poulsbo. Very easily accessible from the Port of Poulsbo. And it's just like a quick walk right up the ramp there, and it's right there. You'll see Longship up on the sign, and 2-story building. It's an old 1908. Let's see,
right.
and I want to get the name right. The Grieg Hall Performance and Event Center is what it was called, right?
Yes.
So amazing, but that's not where it was when you bought it, right?
No,
It was next
it
door.
was in a, yeah, right.
Okay, so Longship Marine, you can check it out at longshipmarine.com. You have new, used, consignment, everything. And I wouldn't even say it's just for boats, right? It could be just for adventurers and the
Yeah.
outdoors, or collectors, people
Tiny
that like
house.
antiques, tiny houses.
Van life.
Yeah, anything where, the small living, and just cool items, like Darren was saying, you just walking through there, looking at everything. You have so many, again, since you have consignment and used, you have old antiques and just really curious and interesting items. You have new stuff. Kind of a dream shop for any boat lover,
For any boat geek.
Yeah, any boat geek. And I would say probably people come to Poulsbo to come to the shop.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a destination, especially for boaters, and the season's coming up. I'm sure you guys are fully aware of that because all the projects you have going on at Longship. But not only do you have consignment, new and used items, but recently now people can buy online, right? You're shipping nationwide.
Yep.
And people can just go shop. I looked, you can shop by category, everything from anchors to zinc, of course, everything in between. You can shop by new, by used, and just order everything there. So if you can't make it to the shop, you definitely want to check out what they have. And the cool thing is you're always getting new items. So like, it's always worth going and checking what has come in.
Tuesday, somebody brought us I didn't measure it and I haven't weighed it, but a bell. It's probably a 12-inch bell.
Wow.
It's dated 1962. It's bronze.
Oh, wow.
It weighs 50 pounds and it has the most amazing sound. I get chills when we ring it. It's amazing.
That is cool.
Just random stuff shows up sometimes.
Now, how long have you been the owner of Longship?
I bought it in 2012.
But you were there prior to...
No, it was
You were a consigner.
I was a consigner.
Okay.
Tell us about this 2012. How did the purchase of Longship come about?
I was a consigner. I think it was formed in March of 2010 as a business, and it's kind of a long story how it happened, but it was this nice lady that was
She was recently widowed,
right,
and her husband had a store called Contractor's Warehouse. And some anchored out lady talked Lois, the woman that started Longship, into starting a marine consignment store. Somehow pitched to her that this would be a good business plan to do. and she did, and she did a wonderful job at it.
Yeah.
She kept, paper logs of everything and had the consigner money, cash in envelopes behind the desk, and very organized.
Yeah.
And so sweet, just such a sweet lady.
Yeah.
And she didn't know what any of the boating items were really because she didn't have a boating background, but she had good business sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when we looked at her numbers after several years of being in business, we're like, oh, Lois was doing okay,
Cool.
She was a Spanish teacher at the local school, so everybody knew her as a Spanish teacher. But
What an
her
interesting-
husband was the business person.
Yeah.
But so I guess the way it worked, I was a consigner. I was rigging sailboats, and I would pass through Poulsbo because I was like the traveling rigger and would bring stuff, sailboat stuff usually. You pull something off a boat and bring it here and sell it. And we were going on a trip. My girlfriend at that time, we were going to go to Alaska on our sailboat for the summer of 2012. And I was kind of let her know, like, hey, I'm not going to collect any money or anything for a while. Don't worry about me. And she said, Aaron, I'm thinking about selling the business and I want you to buy it.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. Kind of took me by surprise, but I thought about it for the whole summer and thought,
While you were
what?
up in Alaska?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I get back and it's still available, I think it's the right thing for me. So I got back, and in November 1, 2012, I took over, and it's been tough.
Sure.
But it's been fun too.
Yeah.
I bet.
It's created a lot of opportunities. The whole boat thing, like having all these boats in our life, would never have happened without that.
Sure.
Better or worse, I guess. But
he probably didn't have a vacation for
no.
7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was running it by himself when I met him, and it's way too much even for two people, let alone one person. So.
Yeah.
We just hired an employee. It's our first real employee.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a big
Thanks.
step.
Yeah.
That's daunting in a way, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
If you find the right people, I think
That
it's
helps.
less daunting.
Mhm.
Yeah, of course.
So you've had Longship for 12 years.
12 years, yeah.
Over 100,000, hundreds of thousands of items probably. What,
Yeah.
The things you've
What-
seen over the years.
Yeah, what stands out in your long tenure as your favorite items that
Favorite
you've ever
items.
had come through the store that might be unusual
Right.
or
I know what mine is.
Yeah,
Yay,
please.
What is yours, Nico?
Mine is the tiger shark jaw.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
So it came with the store when Aaron took over, and then we had at least
Three people claimed its ownership.
Yeah,
over
so
that time period.
we wanted to buy them from the consignor, but we didn't know who actually owned it because
Right.
people would call and say, "Those are my tiger shark jaws." I'm like, "Well, so this other person says it's theirs,"
What?
and this was before we owned it. So we eventually found the rightful owner and purchased them outright. But they hang above the fireplace in the library at the store. So
How did you determine who the
Yeah.
rightful owner?
I think we had to call Lois, the
Yeah,
previous
there you
owner.
go.
some
and
research and
she,
yeah.
she remembers everything.
Interesting.
And those other people, naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They had some weird association with it, which
Yeah.
made them think it was theirs.
Yeah.
I think in their mind they thought it was theirs, but they weren't the rightful owners.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you have any favorite items?
There's so many items.
bet.
It's hard to say.
What do you get excited about when items are coming in? If people are consigning, so if somebody's bringing a box in,
Cunningham
Horns,
ships whistles, horns,
yeah,
Oh, there you go.
bells,
Yeah.
spotlights.
50-pound bells. Those are cool.
Haven't really had any cannons come through. There's somebody that he threatens cannons. He has a collection, but
Yeah.
he hasn't brought them yet.
he hasn't wanted to give them up.
I guess signaling devices. Maybe that's my
The
favorite.
replica
Yeah.
cannons. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are fun.
Spotlights, horns, and cannons.
things he can terrorize people with.
Right.
What about you?
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in particular items that come in, or is it just everything?
Oh, probably like, actual tasteful nautical art,
Yeah.
which we get a
Nice.
lot of not tasteful, but every once in a while, we just got this amazing bronze pelican in
Oh, yeah.
that, mid-century pelican
Ooh, yeah.
and some mid-century seagull watercolors. And so huge glass balls. The largest
Yeah.
is
Oh.
20 inches, I think.
Right.
So we
Like
got,
Japanese floats.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since I do the staging of the store, that stuff's really fun for me. And
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I stayed till almost midnight restaging last week. And then the next day we had 2 giant drop-offs just right in the middle of the floor. Just didn't even look like a proper store anymore. So
Wow.
the stuff is coming in much faster than we can process it.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're the only 2 that can handle the processing part of it. So that's the early morning routine is we get there at 7 and we do inventory until we open at 10.
And
Every
Wake up and do it
single
again.
day, right.
Yeah.
Every day you're open.
Yeah.
Inventory is different for us than most people would think. Most people would think you're counting what you have on your shelves, and that's not what it is. We're pricing and actually processing people's products,
Right.
Researching it.
which is pretty fun for the most part because there's always good stuff in there. But sometimes people bring in a bunch of junk, and we
Sure.
fill up the free bin with it, and it goes away.
So I shouldn't bring in that black velvet sailboat painting.
I don't know.
Might be all
Just
right.
kidding. Just kidding.
What I was actually thinking is, I don't know how you guys do it. Like the amount of work that you have just with the retail store and everything that you have to do with that, processing items, doing the research, deciding how much you're going to sell it, all that. It's not like a normal new store where everything comes in boxed and
Yeah.
you just put it up on the shelf.
Already barcoded. And
Yeah.
And owning wooden boats and doing all that. Are you guys tired all the time? What gets
They
you?
don't sleep.
I know, like it really. I mean, you just must love the boating life, and obviously you live in paradise. Poulsbo's
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
beautiful.
And
Yeah.
we're liveaboards too. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's been mentioned, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I knew it, but that's
Yeah.
a great thing.
Right.
Yeah,
So we're
Yeah, we have an amazing end tie slip, so beautiful view, and we walk to work every day. And
Nice.
Yeah.
we try to sleep in, but we have so much going on that, I mean, I'm excited when I wake up each day. It's like, let's go and tackle some more stuff.
for you.
There's a
know?
lot of fun
Yeah.
stuff happening in our lives right
Mhm.
now. It's stressful and it's difficult, but it's fun, and it's things that we can see change with and progress, and it's pretty great.
Well, speaking of that, upstairs.
yeah. Let's talk about. You've got a project going on right now with the shop. We were there. We got to see a little bit of what's going on inside. You got that whole upper story, and that is big on your mind right now and your
Right.
to-do list every day, right? So what are you guys doing?
We are creating an event center, an event space. It'll be like a concerts, weddings, yacht club rendezvous, William Garden rendezvous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there's not really any like significant space in Poulsbo or North Kitsap like this, so we're hoping to
Fill in a niche. Huh?
fill in a niche. Yeah.
And it is a very
Yeah.
open, big space. Like
It's
I
really
had no
cool.
idea going
We'll
up.
have to go down with our cameras and
Yeah.
do a special episode from Longship.
If you guys will have us,
Showing
we'd love
all
to
the
show it
stuff
off.
you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a kind of a forgotten space. It had not had occupancy since like 1972. It was the
Man.
Sons of Norway from 1918 till 1972, and then they moved, and it just remained empty for a number of reasons. And it's a really cool space.
Yeah.
How many
it's
square feet
fun.
is that upper
Uh,
built part?
4,700 square feet, I think.
Yeah. It's big and
Yeah.
open.
And tall.
Room
yeah.
to dance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the only dance hall in Poulsbo
Yeah.
back in the day where you could get a hot dog and a beer and go out dancing. So,
Right.
the old timers remember being in there and how it was set up and where the coat check was. And
You said 1972 it stopped?
Yes.
That's the year I was born. So that's a long time
Yeah.
for no use
Nothing
of that
right.
space.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. And
Yeah.
you're and Nico, you're wanting to have classes up there as well, like boating classes and instructional safety type stuff.
yeah, so there's a waterfront classroom that's a separate room. So
Yeah.
we have the grand hall and then the classroom. And so we're hoping to primarily use the waterfront side for the classroom. And that will be the nonprofit arm of the business. And then the wedding venue will be the for-profit arm. And they can still use the big hall if they want to, but we'd be hosting various teachers and cruisers sharing their trip and what they've been through and tips and diesel maintenance, basic rigging, safety at sea, marine electrolysis.
Right.
For sure, right?
White fuzz.
Yeah, there's 14 marinas in Kitsap County, so I think there's plenty of boaters to come to the classes. And
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's one of the busiest ports, a major destination for boaters in Puget Sound. I think that's freaking awesome that you guys are doing that with that space. I hope I can attend some events there. Definitely going to keep tabs with the progress. Is this the biggest project working with wood that you've taken on? I mean, you've done a lot of wooden boat
Yeah.
work,
Yes. Right.
but that's a lot of work, right?
It's a lot of work. It's a big space, and it's had not the best maintenance and not the best upgrades, if you'd call it upgrades. There's been a lot of shoddy work that we've had to remove, and structural upgrades that just mind-blowing that the building has stood this long,
Wow.
really.
Well, they don't build them like they used to, though. I mean, it
No,
probably
they build
has
them a lot
the-
better in comparison to this.
This isn't one of those
Oh, it's not one of those.
situations.
Well, I'll say the wood is amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's all old growth
it's
and
old growth, and it's like incredible how many rings per inch on the lumber and all that. But they didn't have any kind of engineering degree when they designed anything. And I think part of it is it was Sons of Norway, so there was a lot of volunteer work happening.
And
So
it was
they
built
just-
in 1908, right?
1908, and
Yeah.
that part was okay, but then the rest was just kind of not so great.
have you found kind of a not a transition, but benefit from working on wood boats
I was
to extending it to this building now?
to some degree. I think in a past life I was a contractor, so I was building custom homes and that sort of
Okay.
thing. So I was already pretty well versed with wood, but the wood boat part actually helped me refine my woodworking skills. It brought me to another level of ability and seeing how structure can and should be held together or things like that.
Cool.
weird angles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I bet.
For sure.
I think it works well together, and I'm enjoying this project a lot.
Well,
It's
good.
it's a good project.
Do you have an an ETA, a approximate ETA on the amount of? I mean, obviously, as you dive into a project like this, like you mentioned
It
before,
grows,
you're
yeah.
finding more things.
You haven't found any Torito.
No, termites.
Just
But
termites.
no
Oh,
live
great.
termites, but there's
Good,
quite a bit
okay.
of termite stuff I've removed.
Okay.
We were shooting for January 1, and we're still shooting for that, but it may not happen, I guess.
Well, do you have, we deal with influencers and folks of that nature that have Patreon
Supporters.
Right.
supporters
yeah.
and stuff. Are you guys looking to get the community involved to help? I mean, you
We've-
guys do so much on your own.
We've talked about that.
We did have a lot of help from the community. Like we painted the exterior and
Yeah.
people pitched in for that
Right.
and people have helped upstairs. We don't have our permit yet. So once we have clear green light to go and we know that all the things we want to do are going to be okay with the city of Poulsbo, then
Yeah.
it would be nice to have some laborers in there for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good, the boating community, I find, is very helpful in those terms.
Yeah.
People will do a lot for a 6-pack of beer.
Right.
Yeah.
And
True.
yeah, and I think, again, Longship is just, every boater I know knows about it and likes going to Longship. So it's part of, I think, just it's ingrained into the boating community up
Well,
here.
And for those who have never been to Longship,
You should.
make a pilgrimage
Yes.
to Poulsbo. I mean, there's so much in Poulsbo anyway. It's one of
Already.
the most popular destinations. And we had Eugene Matiag
Mhm.
Yeah.
on the show recently and
Mhm.
talking about the new breakwater
Ooh, good.
Yeah.
out
good.
there. So
Right.
there's like 100 more slips now for
Mhm.
guests.
Yeah.
But this shop you must see, and there aren't a lot of similar shops on the West Coast
No.
that have consignment used and new
Right.
marine supplies. How many do you know how many are left on the West Coast by any chance?
There's, of course, minis, which is big, but they're not consignment. They buy their stuff, and I think they're for sale. And then there's the Blue Pelican, which I've not been to the California places. I'm not going to say where, but it's somewhere in California.
Mhm.
That's a small kind of a boutique-y sort of place is what I heard.
Yeah, and then Marine Thrift in the
Yeah,
boatyard
Port
in Port Townsend.
But that's so small. I mean,
and
that's like a closet compared to what
Yeah.
Donation
Longship
only.
is.
donation
Yeah.
only, so
Yeah.
you can't earn money on your goods.
As far as that, I'm not aware of any others. There was one up in Sydney. We've watched.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
one.
we've watched
Yeah.
3 of them close in Washington State. I think it was 3
Hmm.
since we've been open, and we even watched one open
and close, right?
close. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're dinosaurs, I'm afraid.
yeah,
And those, boy, that gets me depressed because it's the best shops, like, it's so sad when you see stuff like that closing, but you guys, let's flip it around. It's positive for you guys. You're going strong. It's obviously a struggle doing any retail business. But it's the first thing you see when you get off at the Port of Poulsbo, and it's just, again, it's like a landmark and a destination for boaters. And we need to do everything that we can to support shops like that. I always 100% would prefer to buy something from a shop than
Buy local.
Yeah, buy local. So if you have not been to Longship Marine, check out longshipmarine.com. And again, if you can't make it down there, which we recommend that you do, because there's nothing quite like it's. I liken it to when I walk into a bookstore. I love bookstores, everything about them, used bookstores especially, but the smell. And it's the same thing when I walk into Longship. It's just, I love it. And so there's nothing that can beat that experience, but supporting local businesses is always a good thing. So even if you can't get there, check out their website. And again, if you are in the United States, you can get anything shipped to you that they have there, including maybe this bell. Is it up for?
Wow.
yeah. I've not priced it yet.
Yeah. So keep looking. And that's the cool thing is I do go back and look regularly at their store now because they get new things in all the time or new used consignment type stuff. And so Just a great resource, and I'm so glad that we're this close to them.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah,
We're so lucky.
we really
We're
are.
only 20, 25 minutes away.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll frequently get cruisers that are about to head south, and their last stop will be
Yeah.
Poulsbo, and they'll spend a month or two just finishing outfitting their boat,
Right.
and or people will come to try a sail before they buy it, so they can check out a sail and physically take it down to their vessel and see if it fits properly. And
Which is handy because, again, you're just right there from the marina.
yeah,
So
It's like
Yeah.
200 yards,
yeah,
really.
it's the first thing you see.
Yeah.
And I love that building, and I love your space.
What does it say up on the wall?
Longship.
Marine supply.
Marine
Oh, marine
supply.
supplies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sitting
Marine
here saying,
supply, so you can't
Yeah.
miss it.
Yeah.
Just go
That-
to that.
That was a fun project. We didn't even talk about moving, but when we moved into
Oh
that
my
building,
gosh.
the city requires a permit, which also requires an engineer to engineer any kind of sign that you put on your building, whether it's a piece of plywood. You
Really?
have to have it engineered and stamped.
interesting.
So I came up with the idea, let's just paint it on there. I mean,
Yeah.
make
simple.
it big.
Yeah. It's
And that worked. It was a
It
good pull.
worked.
Nice.
Yay.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Yay.
4 or 5 years ago. It's holding up well.
Yeah.
And it's a sign right to the people that are going to be your customers
Yeah.
as they're walking up.
Big as life.
Yeah.
So people can in about a month, I think they're going to open up the breakwater.
Yep.
So
And right now you have winter hours.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
When does it turn into seasonal hours?
April 1.
So we're getting
then
close.
it's Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5.
Do you feel the pressure coming? More
Mhm.
work?
Yeah.
Less time for the upstairs project, and yeah.
So we'll need to go down.
We're hoping
And-
that, you guys will have us down there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
think about what I would like to do, and we've talked about this before, is highlight some really cool, unique items that you have.
Okay.
And so think about those, and then we can go down. We'll do a special episode and show these items. And
It's funny, as long as we've been talking about doing this podcast, which has been years, COVID, we were talking about pre-COVID. We've also been talking about working with you guys. You didn't know that, but we've been talking
Yep.
about working with you guys for years because it was right away. Darren and I identified that as being something that would be cool content, and we'd have a lot of fun down there.
our guest
Right.
list is 2 pages long.
Yeah.
Potential people and entities.
Yeah.
And we had talked about the fact that it'd be so cool to have you guys on the show and show some really neat things, but you have to come to Poulsbo to buy them, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Right.
Somebody can see it online on video and
Yep.
purchase it, and you ship it to them. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we're definitely in grow mode right now
Yeah.
with the business, and just trying to stay current and relevant. We have an eBay store now, and it offers international shipping, so we can
Oh.
also go that route.
Great. That
Wow.
is good news.
Yeah.
You're in the big leagues, you
Yeah.
guys.
We're
That's
trying.
really
Yeah.
impressive. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. And thank you for, for maintaining that shop. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
it's not just a job. You have to have a passion for it to put yourself through that, every day. And
Yeah.
it's so much work and so much pressure. And
Part of the reason we continue is things like what you're saying is the appreciation that people show to us
Yeah.
is helpful, more than helpful.
Mhm.
It's what keeps us going.
well,
Yeah,
you're
it's
not,
needed.
yeah, it is needed.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's a community service. I mean, you're a business, obviously, but it's a service. I mean, if Longship wasn't there, I would feel the vacancy.
Yeah.
Like
there'd be
that.
a void.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So thank you guys, Nico and Aaron, for
Yeah.
being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We hope that we're going to be working with you again soon and have you back on the show, or we're down there. You can find everything you want to know about Longship at longshipmarine.com. They're on Facebook at Longship Store, and they're on Instagram at Longship Marine. And you guys are very active. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
You're very active on social media
Yeah.
as well. You guys just, I don't know, 2 hours of sleep a night or what? I don't know how you do everything, but I enjoy watching your posts on Facebook and Instagram, and just keep up all the good work. You're again just
Thank
such
you.
a great service to the boating community in the Pacific Northwest up here. highly, again, I'll say it a million times. If you can get down to the shop, do it. It's just a total pleasure to browse through the shop and see all the items that they have there. And this upcoming season, if you haven't been, great reason to go to Poulsbo and just check out a great boating destination. And of course, the shop. So is there anything else you guys would like to say before we move on and go look at Feather for a little bit?
How about a couple boat geek anecdotes?
Sure.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
All right. So it's a not really a riddle. What would you call it?
Is this the fender?
Yeah. What's the hardest working piece on your boat? Have you ever thought about that? The most unappreciated, hardest working piece on your boat, especially your boat, because you're on the end tie.
Yeah.
And big boats are hitting you, and
We've only been hit 5 times.
that's a lot.
That 145 footer, and then 4 other boats have hit us here because
Wow.
the guest dock is right there.
Right.
So-
Well, you notice this whole podcast, we've been kind of swaying back
Moving.
and forth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that hardest working part has been involved in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we already know
Yeah.
the answer,
I
right?
think yeah.
What do most people answer?
Our
really-
friend said me.
Yeah.
He
said
Yeah.
The
I'm
first
the
thing I
hardest
thought
Right.
was the
If
owner.
you're a sailor, probably.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
a powerboat.
No, because your boat sits at the dock most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
It's your
Yeah.
fenders.
It's your
That's-
fenders.
Yeah,
I-
fenders and lines.
so
Yeah.
underappreciated, and
Yeah.
people just they cheap out on fenders
Yeah.
so often, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
have you looked at your fenders when it's blowing 30? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, seriously,
Right.
Yeah, I
take care of your
have
fenders.
2 new ones down in the office.
I saw that. Yeah,
And gosh, what were they? $90 each or something, but
But worth every penny.
it's
Yeah,
insurance. It's like having
absolutely.
the best ground tackle
Right.
system you can. If you're going to be anchoring,
Yeah,
you want to make sure that
How many
you can
fenders
trust it.
do you guys have at Longship?
a ton right
Yeah,
now. It
yeah.
waxes and wanes. but
totally.
We get a lot of good used fenders in, and big boys too.
Right. It'll be a huge pile,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then in 2 weeks they're all gone.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one is, what is the most replaced item on a boat, do you think? Like, say your boat here, this is a fairly complex boat. I mean, there's much more complex boats, but what do you find yourself replacing most often?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is dock lines.
Okay.
Do you replace them often?
Well, not often, but in terms of kind of expendables, I mean, they're always
Right.
going to wear.
Yep.
And so,
It's-
yeah, we've gone
yeah.
through, we've cycled through
I,
new
I,
dock lines.
I
but-
guess another side for us as shopkeepers, the thing that we maybe sell the most of is
Right.
pumps, water pumps.
Oh,
yes.
interesting.
Good. Yes.
Sit down and count how many pumps are on your boat.
Well, we've replaced our main freshwater pump 3 times.
Right.
I'm not even talking about engine. And,
so your
yeah.
engine has how many water pumps, and then
2
you have
each.
each
So we got-
toilet has its own single water pump.
Mm-hmm.
I think I counted 14 pumps on our boat.
Wow.
And that's what we sell the most of at the store is pumps. It's bilge pumps and
Yeah.
freshwater pumps, and then you got your raw water pumps and your wash down pump. And
You guys must get some
Good
interesting
point.
insight, just like what you're revealing here from owning the shop. Like, you know what people are selling the most, you know what people
Right.
are buying the most, what doesn't sell, all that.
yeah,
Yeah, interesting
Bad
information.
marine art.
Yeah.
That does not
There is
sell.
so much bad marine art, right?
Uh-huh.
But then you find the good ones, and it's like, oh,
Sometimes it's so
Those are
bad it's
good.
good though.
yes,
right?
it totally.
Like your velvet black
Yeah.
nautical.
I don't even
painting.
have one.
I
The
remember-
first thing that popped into my mind was, how bad can it get?
I remember some pretty bad black velvet paintings.
I had one when I was growing up that was of Snoopy.
Yeah.
I'm like a
Nice.
kid, and I still remember that. I loved that black velvet painting.
Yep.
When I was a teenager, my friend's house had one of those, and it was the husband had one made of his wife not wearing clothes, and so that was on the wall when black velvet.
Wow.
Yeah,
A
so
boudoir painting.
yes, it was. It was anyway. Good time. I don't think that painting would sell, or can you even call them paintings? But anyway,
Those were good, though. I like that.
Thanks.
Maybe we should adopt some kind of a segment every
Our new-
every episode. We got to have a
our next
kind of
logo will
a
be
boat
black
geek
velvet.
question or riddle.
Yeah.
I love your that's
That was
awesome.
really good.
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys
Makes
have
you
any?
think.
Yeah. Do you have any nautical art in the store currently? Do you have a section?
Quite a bit.
Yeah, we got a ton in the last month. So we're going to do a nautical art sale in the next month.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So there's a whole category that's nautical art and decor.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
So the whole category will be on sale.
Well, we will keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
And excellent. Well, thank you, Nico, Aaron, for being here, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I'm daydreaming of a day. I'm not wasting my time. Don't wait till I come alive. Sail away. I'ma sail away. Like being in the sunshine, waking me up on the bright side, living for a better day. I'ma sail away. Yeah, I try to live every day to the fullest. There's beauty in everything I try to notice. Holograms form from the wind through the trees. There's gotta be more in this world left for me. Sing hallelujah from the basement floor. And I'm still holding out for so much more. Oh, I'm daydreaming of a day. I'm not wasting my time. Don't wait till I come alive. Sail away. I'ma sail away. Like being in the sunshine, waking me up on the bright side, living for a better day. I'ma sail away. Now I'm falling asleep on a chair in the kitchen. Wait for a sign, will I learn how to listen? I wanna hear just too easy to speak. Reminding myself I'm not in this too deep. Sing hallelujah on the basement floor. Yeah, I'm still holding out for so much more. Yeah,